Welcome to Brainstorm MTG. I'm ELD, and this is Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering. Here we've got some legacies from Scholars Games weekly Wednesday night series, and leading out with kind of a weak opening here for Elves, just a Wirewood Symbiote on turn 1. Typically you're going to want some type of mana acceleration, either Deathrite Shaman or Green Sun Zenith, but instead that Symbiote getting hit by a Fatal Push. Another Bayou coming down, this time Queer and Ranger into Nettle Sentinel. The Elves in general, a little weak on their own, but when they team up, they can be extremely powerful. Heritage Druid giving all of your Elves the ability to tap for mana, and Nettle Sentinel comboing to untap each time you're casting Elves, making Glimpse of Nature a very powerful effect. And here we have Hymn to Torok, again, spreading the hand of Elves for the second time this evening, leaving just 2 cards in hand. Another Queer and Ranger. 1 card left in hand, and that is going to be able to take out Baleful Strix at a best case scenario. It is the Elvish... what the heck is it? It's the upgraded Viridian Shaman. I always show my age when I can't remember the name of this card. Let me know in the comments. I'm sure I'll remember at some point. But it's a 2/1, destroys target artifact or enchantment. So better than Viridian Shaman, which was 2 and a green to take out an artifact. Of course, the only difference there is it has a 1 toughness backside instead of the beefier 2/2 back end of Viridian Shaman. Fetching out a Dryad Arbor, increasing the clock, also creating more synergy with those Queer and Rangers, having a creature to untap and actually generate mana. Lightning Bolt again from Kyle, taking out Heritage Druid, really kind of containing the mana. Now on the other side, Leovold and Deathrite Shaman, really cutting out a lot of the possible ways that Elves can win here. So Glimpse no longer going to be a powerful effect. Leovold's going to completely shut that down. And you're going to need Natural Order. Pretty much exactly Natural Order. And just emptying the hand here does get around additional Hymn to Torok's being totally hellbent. And really just going to need to draw a Natural Order or some combination of Gaia's Cradle or Craterhoof Behemoth even. Craterhoof could do it from here, but again, some removal, cutting back big time on the mana. Heritage Druid going to the graveyard. Baleful Strix now. Now Kyle's still stuck at just 1 card in hand. Snapcaster swinging. And then Queer and Ranger returning that Dryad Arbor. So with the pair of Queer and Rangers, we've got a couple of blockers that can get put back in hand and survive. So Baleful Strix slowly chipping away. Now the Wirewood Symbiote. Vindicate on a stick just for artifacts and enchantments, so really just Baleful Strix. That's going to give Kyle an extra card draw because of Leovold's triggered ability. But it does remove some of the inevitability. Now Deathrite Shaman's still going to be able to chip away at the life total. And now Fatal Push taking out the Wirewood Symbiote. So the ground was really taken care of, but that Fatal Push back in the other direction. Glimpse of Nature taken out with Hymn to Torok. Wasn't going to do a ton of good anyways. And there's a Cradle, so now Craterhoof a live draw as well. Craterhoof, a very live draw. That Cradle going to tap for 5 mana. So Craterhoof would be completely lethal. Kyle, I believe, with just 2 cards in hand. And gonna bait with a Glimpse of Nature. Not likely to draw a counter. And there's the natural order. And a hard cast Force shutting that down. So Kyle having the Force to prevent lethal in a game that's gone almost entirely his way now. But the shields were down. Now another natural order or Craterhoof. Not there. And Kyle able to wrap things up with Deathrite Shaman. Definitely a very interactive match here. Elves versus Czech pile. A lot of different ways that this could go. Now the sideboard option is very limited for Elves here. This is an older list. Has not been updated. Very much geared toward trying to be resilient versus lands. And to be fair, the card choices weren't actually that effective at the lands matchup, but it was trying some new things. Cards like Blood Moon and Wasteland in the sideboard, particularly to attack the card Glacial Chasm. The printing of Blood Sun since then, definitely a consideration. I don't think it's the strongest card, but if you are just losing the cards like Glacial Chasm, or if you're worried about cards like Tabernacle, Blood Sun could be a reasonable option versus the lands deck. And it can come down turn 2, which could certainly be good enough. Also wouldn't be the most anticipated card out of Elves. In general, the sideboard could improve significantly to this particular build. Going through the sideboarding here. We had 4 rounds this evening, as we typically do on Wednesday nights. Even if we get more than 16 players, we'll just cap it at 4 and pay out accordingly. We do appreciate everyone who comes out every Wednesday night. Want to make sure they can get out of there at a reasonable hour for work in the morning, of course. See flashes of Force of Will on Kyle's side. It is a pretty comforting card in the Elves matchup. There are cards like Glimpse of Nature and Natural Order that can absolutely end the game. Of course, Green Sun Zenith or Hardcast, Craterhoof are in the future if the game goes long enough. So counterspell is very often part of the strategy to just keep yourself alive. The Elves will eventually get there left unchecked. And the Green Sun Zenith or Dryad Arbor, leading to a really fueled up Gaia's Cradle here. Cradle going to be tapping for 3. And Green Sun Zenith. Now, Craterhoof is in hand. So lots of options here. Could be Elvish Mystic, could be Scavenging Ooze. See what the call is. And just going the traditional route here with the Elvish Mystic. That does have the synergy with the Wirewood Symbiotes to be able to get picked up and put down. There we've got a Lightning Bolt on one of the Symbiotes. With the new Venom movie, people forming very strong opinions about the way to pronounce symbiote. All right, Heritage Druid coming down. One more elf. We're going to see explosive mana because of the Heritage Druid. Picking up, putting down Mystic, and there it is, another elf. This time Deathrite Shaman, and that's going to enable Abrupt Decay. So at this stage, really looking to grind out with Elvish Mystic. Olgin's Command. with the discard mode as well. So could have picked up the Elvish Mystic there to recast it and continue to generate some card advantage. That might be the proper line in this deck. So we've got Craterhoof in hand. Cradle's going to tap for 5 mana. We've got 8 mana left. So this is Elvish Mystic. And Craterhoof would just be very lethal here. So it looks like maybe going to do a Force of Will check, or maybe going to generate some card advantage with the Mystic. Let's see which way it goes. I'm just going to jam the Craterhoof here, and that, of course, draws a Force of Will. Now, back on the Elvish Mystic plan. Draw on a card. See if Kyle has removal for that Wirewood Symbiote again. That does threaten to just bury in card advantage. Probably should have picked up the Visionary there to draw a card. And here we go, Glimpse. And now drawing 2. And gonna get the concession there. Not sure if we saw the natural order or not. But going into game 3. Elves, really a deck that is kind of surprisingly difficult to play optimally. I've lent it out several times at the event. Occasionally we have players who are interested in Legacy, and I'll help them out by letting them borrow one of the many Legacy decks that I have built. Elves, to a lot of people, seems like a very attractive deck to play. Seems somewhat straightforward, but once you really start playing it, there's a lot to keep track of. Particularly when you're using Glimpse of Nature. There's a lot of triggers for card drawing, untapping Nettle Sentinels. The difference in between an excellent Elves player and an average Elves player, pretty big gulf. And again, kind of questionable keep here, leading out with just the Symbiote. No mana acceleration, though we do have Cradle in hand, which promises to make future turns a bit more explosive. And another Symbiote, and this time into Elvish Mystic. So a very, very similar game to the last one so far. This type of card advantage situation. Very promising. And oh, Liliana of the Last Hope. And that is graphic. She is going to do a ton of work here. Her +1 is going to do -1 to the backside of any of these creatures. Really just Nettle Sentinel will be able to survive. There is Quirion Ranger there. Get down a fetch land. That can pull up a Dryad Arbor. And making some moves here. 4 mana off of Cradle. Quirion Ranger could allow for the untapping of that Dryad Arbor. Just 2 coming in. Let's see what this Zenith gets. I think the obvious call here is probably Scavenging Ooze, but instead going to draw some extra cards here. So 2 mana floating still. Mystic coming down. And the Green Sun Zenith for 1. That Dryad Arbor is summoning 6, so can't actually use that Quirion Ranger to untap it. And trying to delay here with that Wirewood Symbiote. Now 5 potential damage coming in. Could take out this Liliana. But Leovold comes down as a blocker. And this is a critical turn right here. Got Deathrite Shaman in hand. Craterhoof. Cradle going to be able to tap for 5 mana. We've got 8 total. 1 mana off from being able to Green Sun Zenith for that Craterhoof. Oh, it looks like Craterhoof's actually in hand. So there we go, Craterhoof. And he's got the force, pitching force, so lethal damage shut down there from Kyle. Counter Magic proving to be so important here in saving the day again. And returning to untap and try and take out Lily. And he's got the removal. Lily's going to survive at 1 counter. And that is a massive, massive turn. Him to Turok, followed by another him. Both players hellbent. And this game has spiraled completely out of control now. Force of will, double him. All the resources going away. Leovold going to be able to continue to chip away. Got to wonder how different the game would be if that Scavenging Ooze had been searched up earlier. That card would be absolutely massive at this point. So perhaps not enough value out of that Green Sun Zenith earlier. And there's a Snapcaster Bolt down to just 1 mana. Running out that symbiote, that's just more fodder for the Liliana. Second land. And this is all over with a lightning bolt. And Kyle takes it down, preventing Elves from making it to the finals this week. That's all for this one. If you enjoyed the video, please help grow the channel by subscribing. You'll be notified when we upload new videos like Fast Effect, Double Speed Magic with commentary, or Untapped, our raw tournament gameplay. Thanks for watching.